the better it is, the better we expose our systems also to others who develop interest and the likeness to want to help us even the more. Our 37 military hospital is here. Simple air compressor was not working until I went there and we intervened immediately. Otherwise, oxygen flow was going to be lacking. This can link defense tourism to health tourism because some of the health professionals there are also military officers. So we need to keep this at the back of our mind. Let me touch on Sahel. I would want to say that President Mahama's visit to the 3 AES countries was a game changer. He went to Burkina, Mali, and Niger. I have since been to Burkina. And when I say it was a game changer, I mean exactly what I'm talking about. Because the 3 AES countries had lost trust and confidence in ECOWAS. And so ECOWAS, West Africa itself, was yearning for that leader who could speak to the 3 AES countries, the leaders, for them to trust him or her and listen. Fortunately, with Ghanaians giving President Mahama a resounding victory, he became president and embarked on that game-changing trip. It is helping. Exchange of information, because note that if the terrorists overcome the system in Burkina Faso, Ghana becomes the next target. And that is what makes managing the situation in Boko and its environs very, very important. Because it will be one of the entry points. And that is why I spoke about the forward operating bases that almost are enveloping the northern borders of the country. And that's why we are committed to completing them. In terms of tactical operations, deployment, and all that, you don't expect me to talk about those ones. Let me touch on missing ammunitions. I must say that, yes, it is not every detail that I can provide at this stage. But the fact that it's taking this long to capture it in this minute detail should tell you there must be a reason. If you go back to the President's State of the Nation address, 2025, he hinted at it. This is the next phase. But the reality is that to date, those ammunitions have not been accounted for. How the Ghana Armed Forces could transfer ammunitions to national security that doesn't have a fighting force in 2024 is a question that will definitely have to be answered. The Ghana Armed Forces has passed it on to the National Security Secretariat for the National Security Secretariat to investigate it, since they were the recipients of the ammunitions. But what we are doing is, under our watch, under our watchful eyes, any such incidents will not be dealt with like the way it was handled in the past. So whilst we have encircled this and handed it over to national security for national security to handle, whatever will fall within our domain from January onwards, trust that we will deal with it the way the military knows best. Kevin Taylor in the country. Unfortunately, I'm not an immigration officer. and so, I mean, how do you expect? I mean, I'm not an immigration officer. I mean, for those who are interested in that, let me advise the Freedom of Information Act. Take necessary steps. Find out from immigration, unless the person did not come through lawful borders. So, some of these things caution the national discourse. Ashanti region military brutalities and other military brutalities. Take it from me and take it from the Mahama administration. We will always treat crime as crime. We will not shield anyone. There is a report that has come out of the investigation that took place there. The outcome of the investigation is clear. Do I want to speak to it at this stage? No. However, subsequent actions will let everyone know what the implications of that particular investigation is. And then last but not least is to assure you that as much as possible, our doors are always open. We are ready to serve you. We are ready to engage you, even when we cannot, speak to the matter. We will be able to find clever ways to explain to you why this matter cannot be discussed in the public domain in great detail, like I have done with the ammunition that were moved from the Ghana Armed Forces to national security in 2024. So be rest assured. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Well, I'll make an exception for you, Patrick. But after you, we'll draw down the curtains on today's program. Yeah. Please go ahead, Ian.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable. My name is Patrick Asford Boyd, Radio Gold. Honorable, just want to find out, we have seen a lot of private development on known military lands. Do you have any briefing on the conditions under which these developments happen, and what are you doing to ensure military lands are protected? Then also, secondly, I heard you in an interview during the Ablekuma North run-off election, or rerun election, and you said that you're not going to deploy military to the grounds, knowing very well how the outcome will be. Now you have heard also about what people are saying concerning the Akwetia. Are we going to deploy military this time around so that we ensure total peace during the Etiwa by-election? Thank you.
Akwetia.
Sorry, Akwetia by-election. Right. Thank you.
Your attitude, yeah.
Honorable Hoyade, Edenyamiase. Me pacho brutalities na odika wachire mu de but yes police for the hu ayonkofa we ye no montem yes police is our friend military for no money yen te sen because do before complain no eto da bia na ha dwen nyina hi de say wo hye kamo na ekofa wuo ba ye no sa na interdiction bia ni we betimi di nipa ne nkwa ababak enti going forward mo won hye bia mo de be ma ye nuanom asrafo ne say yan dia ya somoden wo se mi hye kamo nipa no be hye enti wo hia na den na wo be ya nipa no be wuro na asomdwom enkofa wuo ma e na boko wo se crime no mo be separate from custom money police for be collabo na macheche nkrofo mbe di ewu na na asamo be ne sen because nipa ewu oboko doso a yanchi wo bia wo ho mesre mo do before complain ya mo to mo bokaka.
Right, Honorable Minister.
Yeah. Military lands. military lands, yes, I've seen those developments. And there have been complaints about some of those developments. I want us to situate those complaints within the context of cost effectiveness. There are PPPs. Does the government of Ghana endorse PPPs? Yes, government of Ghana endorses PPPs. However, PPPs must be beneficial to the partners. If it becomes a parasitic relationship, then the PPP is not of benefit to the Ghana Armed Forces. Again, there are also some strategic assets that an institution such as the Ghana Armed Forces may never want to give away. I'll give an example. There is a story in economics about how no matter how rich a Saudi prince is, the Mona Lisa will never be sold to the person, no matter what you are offering. So there are certain things that the Ghana Armed Forces should never give away. However, as I mentioned, Ghana Armed Forces lacks 17,000 housing units. And obviously, these deficits were not being addressed. In fact, in my rounds last week in Tema, near the Biekro barracks, I found a SNIT housing unit that is almost 2 decades. One has just got into the plastering stage with pipes, the green pipes in there. Another just block works up to the point and roofed. Almost 2 decades, sitting in the bush. Some of these facilities are scattered across the country. So if government was not ready and willing to complete this, and let's say a private person came in and said, Ghana Armed Forces, you have land. The land is valued as this. And that is where the problem is. Who determines the value of the land? You have an institution in the country, the Lands Commission, the land valuation, that should determine the value. Because if we are able to know the actual value, then we can get more from these land swaps. Without knowing the actual value, you cannot know whether you are having more, but trust that the private person would definitely not give you more. And so, what have we done? We have said, let the various investigations on lands, not just the Ghana Armed Forces lands, that are ongoing, continue. And at Cabinet, we have discussed it. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources has even extended the period because he indicated the people needed more time. We are waiting for the outcome. When they bring their report and their recommendations, it says that for a parcel of land A, it was valued at, let's say, 2 million Ghana cedis or $2 million. But its real value should have been 4 million. It means that we go back to the drawing table and trust that I will lead the Ghana Armed Forces to go back to the drawing table on those ones. Then, on military deployment, soldier for your bro. If we come, hey. If we don't come, hey. We didn't come to Ablekuma North. Then at Ablekuma North, a journalist asked me like 5 times, Honorable, do you think you should have allowed the military to come to Ablekuma North? But I answered, no, 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 no. But not that the military was completely paralyzed from coming to Ablekuma North. The military will only participate in such activities when they are called upon by the Ghana Police Service. Because elections is a civil activity. Unless it's very, very crucial, you don't need the presence of the military. So let's not create an impression. We are lucky we have a President Mahama. Don't forget, once upon a time, military descended on even parliamentarians in the chamber of parliament. So if we continue to crave military should come to polling stations, tomorrow, it may not be 8 people being killed like it happened in 2020. It may be more. Let's rather encourage the Ghana Police Service to deploy the people who can get the job done. And we believe that they have special units within the Ghana Police Service, and such people can get the job done. However, at any point in time, notwithstanding our serviceable state, notwithstanding our corroded, in parts, assets, if we are called in, we will deploy, because we are in strategic locations. But let that not be the norm. Let that be the exception. Would the military be in Akwatia? It depends. I can't say yes, I can't say no. It depends. Could the military have been at Ablekuma North? It depends. If the police requested, the military could have been there. In this case, it was not requested. And let me add that when I visited Ablekuma North, the Methodist polling station, with my brother, the Minister for Interior and National Security, with little effort, I was able to drive people away from the inner perimeter of the polling station. And you know the people who gave me the hell, the tough time, the toughest time, in terms of trying to move them away from where the polling officers were. Can you guess? Sorry? Yes. So please, let's not be too quick to be inviting the military. But at any point in time where the services of the military is needed, you can trust that the Ghana Armed Forces will never disappoint. That is the reason why when they go for training, they abandon all hopes of normal life. Now, I come to Titi. Ose Sanebeya Yene Anyonkofano, a soldier for, a sheriff for, any civilians, Nyonkofano, ebe koso wano, mijitum. Na we nso ka ho ntina bibi te say even national service program ikrampo eboa ema yene omonte ay barracks no anyankofa no emu ebi nso military omo punish omo nkrofo ne pa o fi say almost every punishment bi a ekoso wo ho bia no ebefa manim omo ye wi a ebefa ho. I mean, ubehu se bia obi ni atene rank so obi na omo atene salary ebia say obi ni aye ni say omo ye the only thing they say in do stage a ebia omo ya omo de ba eba beto edwa enu ntina ya monte no, but otherwise eba I mean me how many just last week in Kwa me can be 2 of such way. And the good thing is say, very, very fair process. In fact, even start to crampo baby say nipa na eba beti wasemuno. Do you agree? Bibi eka wo ho. And I think it's something that our courts should learn. Because assuming say be Chief Justice, a judge be say ontena wasem so. In the case of the armed forces, who appear, they will ask you say, do you agree say I say nipa no bibi ka efa ho ana? A standard that they are makai omuwe. And I think something that we should learn from them. They do it. But I will say, yama anyankofa no emu yeden, emu epi. Yebehwe na yaye. Enokre boko. Efibe October last year, the rival chief no, mwa koshe hono, nipa 104, ena omashre omunkwa. 104. Oha ene nine, ena omu ahre omunkwa. Na enunti na abai eni abrese crime de yebe ti crime afi chieftaincy ahinde insem ne hono efi say ebia Ghana ha baabi apart from ebia boko wale area mu ho sebio obi ehu se obi da baabi a yakuno gunshot onka say chieftaincy meboa. But over there, the moment you see something like that, Obeka say chieftaincy. You understand? But for all you know, ukomu deeper, nebia na enyesa. So we need to put all this together. And I'll give you a typical example. Mekai, ye pathology I lecturer or chair DB forensics. Or say case be of dead body be na eda I law requirement na car faso. So everybody would think that a road traffic accident, and I can't born na car na faso. Inti normally come back and say, oh, autopsy crumble the here. I postmortem. Omuye postmortem no. Na I body no akomen him. There was no heart in the body na cars afaso no. So assuming you just assume say, already a road traffic accident and a car afaso. You wouldn't have known say him, so it could be even ritual murder could be a possibility. So yes, because of the things going on in the enclave in Intino, the suspicion is strong to associate the chieftaincy conflict. But also, as for the investigators, they normally cast their nets very wide. And Yaye review, aye. One of the key things are yehu nso. And they say, uche nkrofo na odi omu kujina asenibia ewo hɔ a enchebia ne agya omu nti enye se omu nche nkrofo. A police for no omu che nkrofo but omu de kwa ne agya omu. Nti say na ye kan say uche obi say oye ehani ono na owo left and owo right and owo ehifon. So long as we say obechino say oye crime boni no ochina crime de ebetumi ahope a jurisdiction into no yerepe jurisdiction foforo na say nipa no wakwa ko face emra no senia emra etie nia eyeme de bebre about two things. One, galamsey and de bia meka me ni interest ewo concession bia mu. Minister for Interior and National Security, Muntaka, only interest our concession BM. President Mahama, Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, only interest our concession BM. About security, yade aircon galamsey, say a Commander-in-Chief, Interior, any defense. You understand? Be rest assured, we've done a review of the galamsey fight. That is why we put in place the NIMOS, National Anti-Illegal Mining Operation Secretariat. We are doing few things. Very soon you will see added momentum in the fight. And it will not matter whose us is God. So be rest assured. Madam Asir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that.
Welcome back. Well, it's on. Good afternoon, Ghana. You were just listening to the Defense Minister, Dr. Mahama, who was taking his turn at the Government Accountability Series, addressed a couple of issues happening with our security in the country. And I think tops of it will be the matter of galamsey, military involvement in election activities, military lands, and what we intend to do in the protection of military land. He has talked about Ghana's communication and collaboration with Burkina, Mali, and Niger, the AES countries. He's talked about general security, terrorism activities across the country. Quite a lot of them. We'll get into it and unpack some of the matters that he's raised. But in the meantime, as Good Afternoon Ghana has been arranged, we are looking into also what happened over the weekend with the New Patriotic Party. The party has successfully ended its delegates conference that happened on Saturday at the Legon Sports Stadium. And what it intended to achieve, we'll see if the party will be able to manage all other matters that are coming from the different camps of people. But on the phone lines, let's join, or rather Zoom. Okay, so we have a Member of Parliament for Ofuasia Irebi constituency and also former Minister both for Information and Works and Housing, respectively, Kujo Ponkoma. He has joined us via Zoom. Let's engage him a bit, and then we'll look at other matters as well. Kujo, thank you so much for your time, Honourable Member. You're welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana.
Thank you for having me. Annie.
Right, I hope you're doing well. Great. Congratulations to you as well on the just ended conference.
Thank you.
Let's start off with what your observation so far was. How do you take account of what happened on Saturday with the party? Do you think that overall the party was able to go through exactly how you probably anticipated and you were successful?
Saturday was designed to be a day for reflection and for thinking through some of the major reasons that occasioned our loss of the 2024 election, and an effort to make the necessary changes or to start the process of rebuilding together, making the necessary changes and improvements to our party. We had 56 motions on the order paper and then one transitional motion. 54 out of the 56 passed. That's about 96%. And then the transition motion also passed. Our delegates traveled from all over the country, close to about 7,000 people registered. At the end, our feedback is that everybody has returned safely to their destination. They were, well taken care of when they came. And so we think that all in all, it was a successful exercise.
So you as a member of the Constitutional Committee, all the new amendments that came on board and those which were accepted and those which were rejected, do you think that across board, maybe majority of the membership of the party agree with all the decisions that have been taken? Have you been able to pick sentiments on the ground? What exactly are you picking?
What we are picking is that 96% of the motions, we initially got over 300 proposals. And then after 3 months of work, focus group discussions, the necessary research, etc., we managed to simplify them into 56 motions. I think one of the things that many of your viewers will observe is that this is one of the first times that you have seen a party at conference conduct a referendum of this nature. Nearly 7,000 people in attendance, motion by motion, and get these motions approved or rejected. And it was, for me, a good testament of our democracy that 2 specific motions were clearly rejected. And it shows you that our delegates are taking time to read the order paper, read the recommendations, and come to a certain understanding of why something was or was not good for the party. And it is in that regard that we have reason to believe that the decisions and the votes that took place at conference reflect what the party feels across the country.
There are people who have actually said that the motions for a party that just came out of elections and probably lost, not probably, lost. 56 motions were quite a number of motions or amendments that you are, putting or capturing in your constitution. Is there something that you agree? And what are some of the issues? Of course, when you went around the country to pick challenges that the party probably faced that led to your defeat, how far did it inform these decisions? And do you agree that these motions were indeed a lot for a party that just came out of elections?
There's no rule of thumb that for a party that just came out of elections, you should have 3 or 4. Your research is what will determine what the issues are. The research suggested that there are 4 major things that we have to attend to in rebuilding our party. Number 1 is the size of the people who get to make decisions in the party. And that is why you see reforms to expand what we call the electoral colleges in the party. Now we've expanded by about 40%, and we are programming that by 2028, we should be able to reach 1 man, 1 vote. So you see that as a clear recommendation. But in pursuance of that, and while we put the various building blocks together, we're expanding by about 40% now. The second issue is got to do with corporate governance within the party. Who is the party leader? Who is in charge of what? Who reports to who can act in whose absence? It is important for corporate governance to be strengthened. Who has power to discipline somebody, or who doesn't have power to discipline somebody? What sort of issues will culminate in disciplinary action? Corporate governance needs to be improved in the party. I think when everybody observes and says that the MPP appears to be in some difficulty, it is a fact. And one of the things that needs to be dealt with is corporate governance. And so you see amendments in this constitution that deal with improving corporate governance and discipline. You also see amendments that deal with improving our operations as a party. That's a third challenge we suffered from. So during the campaign period, etc., and even before the campaign period, what are the operational requirements expected for a party to be efficient, and what were the gaps? Those gaps are the ones that you see culminate in certain amendments, specific amendments, which conference had an opportunity to vote on. And then finally, the 4th one was policy. A lot of people, in fact, the predominant view in the last election was that our policy, particularly when it came to how to respond to the economic crisis, was not satisfactory for many people. So how do we improve policy formulation in the party? And how do we improve policy accountability in the party? Again, you see motions 26, 27, and 30 trying to tackle matters of policy formulation and policy accountability. So the issues are what inform the number of motions which have now been approved by conference. What now remains is how to implement these decisions by conference so that the party will be stronger, the operations will be tighter, decision-making will be broader based, and policy will be more responsive to the desires of party people and the people of Ghana.
Prior to the delegates conference, we had opportunity to speak with some of your party executives, both locally and internationally. The biggest call that was coming from the international community was that the expenses of campaign and politics in the country continues to increase. And so they were really looking at policies that will make politics less expensive. And maybe both political parties, NPP and NDC, always look at sort of expanding electoral college. But no matter what you do, the expansion does not necessarily culminate into cutting down costs in politics. We've had discussions about, giving us transparency with the source of finance that we use in campaign and all that. That is another discussion altogether. But how is the party also looking at areas like this? So people with bigger ideas are not necessarily going to be driven away because of cost of politics and issues of that nature. You are a second force of a political party in Ghana. Are you looking at this area, and what are you doing about it?
So that is, first of all, not an MPP problem. It's a national political problem, as you rightly mentioned. Number two, it's not about people with bigger ideas or better ideas being driven away because of money. Even people with the best ideas still have to find ways of funding their campaigns. We considered it, and our answer is that we should get to the one man, one vote system, where eventually everybody participates in the vote. It will reduce what people refer to as moneycracy, or financial inducements that end up affecting, the campaigns and the process, and also then ends up leaving people disgruntled. But until we get there, or as part of efforts to get there, we have to do what we call a limited expansion. That's why we've expanded today by about 40%. The timeline we've put in the recommendations is 2028. By 2028, the party should have reached the one man, one vote. But until we get there, a limited expansion of about 40%. In the electoral colleges within the party. Eventually, however, the country may need to, by legislation, come to a certain view, which view would then help to take away, may I say, the monetization or the moneycracy in our system. And that view would have to be backed by legislation. And it would have to take a bipartisan effort to do that. The trick is that bipartisan efforts are not just important for the passing of legislation. They are important for the execution or the fulfillment of that legislation in fidelity. And I'll give you an example. We, bipartisan mode, abolished the vigilante system and passed a law. But you are observing that the NDC did not follow that. And in the last election, for example, they had kept their vigilante groups and unleashed them to cause a lot of violence and attacks in many places, even post-election. So this is another matter where we require bipartisanship, but that bipartisanship should not just be in word, it should be in deed across board. And all of you, media, civil society, religious bodies, will have to weigh, not because somebody personally likes one party or doesn't like another party. You have to be able to bring down the gauntlet that this is something that as a country we've decided should stop and everybody should comply with it.
So, okay, on that note, I'm going to move to the optics of organizing activities. I mean, following what happened in Ablekuma North, we've heard a lot of comments from the party faithful on what they're preparing themselves for, because we're gearing up for Akwetia and stuff like that. And they have threatened, as you mentioned, vigilantism. I'm not sure, because the pillars that you're talking about, expansion of electoral college, corporate governance, and I think this will fall under operations of the party, and then maybe corporate governance, and making sure that you're following through what structures are put together. Are we going to be assured of a peaceful by-election in Akwetia? At least on the side of the MPP.
Peaceful by-election is the Ghana Police Service. And it is very disappointing that the Ghana Police Service is getting away with the highest level of dereliction of duty. And everybody's watching on unconcerned and is asking political parties to give assurances of peace and safety. The Ghana Police Service was the one that was supposed to provide security for the collation of the Ablekuma North results. The EC went to court, even asking for a court order. Political parties petitioned. The Ghana Police Service failed or refused to provide the protection. Then they asked the EC to do a rerun, claiming they could provide security for 19 polling stations and a collation center. And you watched it on television. Your reporters were there. And that was a major failure on the part of the Ghana Police Service a second time. The third level is that people were caught on camera committing assault. The Ghana Police Service has written long English that they will investigate and people who know these people until this morning. What time is it? 12:46. I'm not sure you've heard anybody has been arrested. That's the third level of dereliction of duty.
So this what
if there will be
if you
there will be violence, if there will be violence, if there will be violence in Akwetia or violence in 2028, the first person to question is not the political parties, it's the Ghana Police Service and the IGP. If they fail, if they continue to fail and they continue to be derelict in their duty, then they are those who are creating a scenario where people will resort to self-help. It is the resort to self-help that the MPP tried to abolish in 2017, 2018 by the passage of the Vigilantism or the Anti-Vigilantism Act. And all of you, media, civil society, religious bodies, should not play the ostrich and be quiet. You need to call out the Ghana Police Service and hound them to do the right thing. If they don't, and there's violence in Akwetia or in 2028, the blood is on your hands.
What does that necessarily mean?
What it means is that all of us have a responsibility to call out the Ghana Police Service. I'm expecting that every morning you will be reminding the Ghana Police Service about the status of arrest and prosecution of the persons who are involved in that Blekoma violence. If that doesn't happen, then they are creating a scenario where people will resort to self-help. Nobody wants that. We should not encourage self-help situations. But our silence at what the Ghana Police Service is doing is what creates that scenario.
So on the 17th of July, this is the release following the first release they had given us about their own officer that assaulted the media. This is a second one they released. It said police act on Ablekuma North election assaults. The Accra Regional Police Command wishes to update the public in relation to the violence incidents, plural, assaults recorded during the Ablekuma North parliamentary rerun held on Friday, 11 July 2025. The police have reviewed and are analyzing several videos that capture the incidents at the polling stations to identify all persons involved. Third one, they said the command has progressed to obtain the statements from the complainants and witnesses aid in the ongoing investigations. The police have also gathered vital leads and wish to assure the public that arrests will be effected soon. Meanwhile, the victims involved in the incidents have been issued a police medical report forms. The fifth point, in line with due process, the police officer captured in one of the videos assaulting a journalist who was interdicted has been held for criminal charges of assault. Sixth, the Accra Regional Police Command reiterates its commitment to ensuring that all persons responsible for acts of violence, intimidation, and misconduct during the elections will be held accountable under the law. We encourage the public to cooperate with police and share any credible information by contacting us on emergency lines 18555 or 191, signed by Julian Obing, Superintendent, Head of Police Public Affairs. This was the second statement released after
exactly my point. So you see the plenty English that you read. Apart from the police officer, of course, he is a known police officer, so police want to take disciplinary action against him. Apart from him, how many of the macho men seen on TV assaulting people have been even arrested? Plenty English, plenty paragraphs, nobody. And that is the evidence of the dereliction of duty. And I'm saying to you that if the Ghana Police Service continues to be derelict in its duty, and all of you acquiesce and be quiet about it, if there's violence at any next election, the blood is on all our hands. And that is what I'm drawing the attention of media, civil society, religious bodies to. The Ghana Police Service must be called out on a daily basis that these people who were seen on television, their faces were known, arrest them, and bring them to book. Don't sweep it under the carpet and ask political parties that, can you assure us of, safety and security? Political parties can't assure of safety. There's a police that can do it. And if the police continues with this activity, then that is where things are heading.
But they've assured in the release that arrests will be made soon. That's not English.
That assurance is meaningless until those arrests are made.
All right.
And all of you will be following up on the police until those arrests are made.
Right. Now, with the discipline that you're to ensure across board, we still have members of the party, of course, who are speaking out, letting out their emotions expressing how unhappy they are. How is the party's organization bringing all these people together? You already have your theme. You said rebuilding together with our values. After this delegates conference, how is this organization? Is it going to be an internal affair, or you're openly going to be punishing those who will not deal through the corporate governance system that will be established?
First of all, let me say there's nothing wrong even with party people expressing displeasure about something. We're a democracy, so we don't frown on party people expressing displeasure about something. By the way you go about it, if you go about legitimate acts in an illegitimate way, then you are subject for disciplinary action. And any army that is going to war that cannot have discipline within its ranks is not a serious army that seeks to win any particular battle. And so what we would expect is that going forward, and now that some of the disciplinary structures have been strengthened, going forward, yes, people may have things they are unhappy about. There are channels that they can use to express those elements of displeasure. There are bodies within the party that they can report to for disciplinary action to be taken. But it will not be an excuse for a party member to say, because I'm unhappy about something, I've taken the law into my own hands and I'm flouting the party's rules and regulations for my parochial interest because I'm unhappy. In those instances, the party will have to crack the whip, regardless of whose ox is good.
How do you respond to also some criticisms that this particular conference was made to give or provide some soft platform for Dr. Bawumia to launch himself?
How do they explain that beyond the mere mouthing of that allegation? What is the evidence? What is the basis on which they say that? Hello, Annie?
Yes, I'm listening to you.
No, I'm asking, what is the basis on which they say that? Because you can't merely mouth something.
I cannot provide a basis, but what I can tell you is that when NEC took the decision that we're having the conference on this date, we're going for elections on this date and all that, you've listened to some criticisms coming in that let's focus on the party. Why are we building from top to bottom approach and all that? And I'm sure that is based on which these criticisms came, that it was just to favor Dr. Bawumia.
So my argument is that when somebody says something, it should be interrogated. For example, when somebody says there's a top-to-bottom system, the question is, who decided that top-to-bottom system? There's no top-to-bottom system that's been decided anywhere. I was at council meeting on both occasions. There was not even a motion for top-to-bottom. Nothing of that sort was discussed. Only two things were discussed. One was that last Saturday, the party should go to conference to amend the constitution to do these four things that we have discussed with me this afternoon. Two was that by 31st of January, the party should elect a flag bearer. How does that become top to bottom? None of them represents top to bottom. If anybody wants to make that argument top to bottom, he has to substantiate that allegation for it to be interrogated. That's number one. Number two, we're all at the program. I was director of events at the program. All the persons who should have been acknowledged at the programs were acknowledged. All the speeches from the stalwarts in the party that should have been taken were taken. Nobody was given up. In fact, banners of hopefuls for various positions were not allowed at the venue. There was only one incident, one person who I think is hoping to be general secretary who came with a banner, and security quickly took it away from that person. And so this allegation is not grounded in any way and should not be encouraged.
Right. I'll let you go, but I will pick your mind or your thoughts on what's just happened. We've just listened to the Minister of Defense taking his turn at the Government Accountability Series. I think tops for me will be the issue of galamsey. He commented on it and he said the government is actually fighting the menace with some different reforms. He says that the Ghana Armed Forces have played significant roles in the fight against galamsey. He also says that the government has undertaken comprehensive review of the anti-galamsey illegal mining strategy, resulting in key reforms aimed at making the fight coordinated and sustainable. He said major outcomes of this review also is the creation of a National Anti-Mining Operations Secretariat, and then that will oversee and streamlining all government interventions against the galamsey activities. When it comes to galamsey, we are very passionate because, of course, our life depends on it. Are you so far satisfied with efforts, now it's efforts the government is putting in to stop this activity?
First, let me commend the government and the Minister for Government Communications, my brother Felix Kwachi-Fosu, for continuing with the minister's press briefings, which we started at the Ministry of Information, though they have rebranded it now as a Government Accountability Series. I think it's important for government to constantly engage with the public. And so we commend them for continuing the minister's press briefings, which they have now rebranded as a Government Accountability Series. Second, all the big English that the minister spoke about galamsey is subject to one test. Has galamsey ended? The answer is no. In fact, I was reading from one of the foremost journalists on the anti-galamsey fight, Erastus Asaridonko, who says that more and more forests are being degraded by galamsey activities, despite the rhetoric from the new administration. According to what Erastus Asaridonko, who's been a foremost reporter on this matter, is reporting, it is getting worse in various areas. He's also reporting that NDC kingpins are involved. There are places where you find national security operatives protecting mining concessions. All of those are part of reports that Erastus Asaridonko has put out. So contrary to the big English that the minister has been speaking, the evidence on the ground does not support that narrative. Very finally, when the NDC was campaigning about the fight against galamsey and creating the impression that the MPP was unwilling to fight it, they said what needed to be done if a government was serious, what needed to be done was a declaration of a state of emergency and a repeal of the legislative instrument. Annie, in all humility, has a state of emergency been declared 6 months into the Mahama administration? The answer is no. Has a legislative instrument been repealed? The answer is no. Dr. Tony Edu, one of the foremost voices in the NDC, says that if you are serious, it won't take you 6 months to fight it. So the evidence on the ground does not. I watched the minister in his red tie and his suit this afternoon. A lot of grammar, but on the ground, galamsey is getting worse. The water bodies haven't cleaned up. All of those who led the anti-galamsey campaign, it will be disappointing to see their silence continue. They have to get up and continue the anti-galamsey campaign so that it is obvious that it wasn't partisan politics they were doing just to favor the NDC, but they were really concerned because anti-galamsey efforts must continue. The problem is not a partisan problem. It is a systemic problem. And currently, according to those who have been watching and giving us updates, it's not getting any better. That is the evidence on the ground.
It's not getting any better, but when it comes to the forest, for example, the minister has updated us, I think about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that the military has assisted in claiming or reclaiming our forest reserves where galamsey activities are taking over. At least we have about 9 forest reserves that have been taken. I think we have 2 outstanding. So maybe it's a good effort, not so?
You see, you even couldn't say it as a matter of fact. You say maybe. This is what the minister is saying. What are the reporters who are following the anti-galamsey effort saying? Call Erastus Asaridonko and his teams who are going into the forest. Call them and ask them. They will give you a better verdict.
All right. We'll leave it here. I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your time, but before I let you go, I will just take a little bit of some information from you, maybe in reaction to what Dr. Atta Kennedy has been saying over the period. We engaged him before the by-elections. After the by-elections, I think a few comments also have been made because some discussions went on here on Metro TV, and he did a video to respond to those comments because he claims we did not give him enough time to make the response. If you give me or spare me some of your minutes, you can listen to it and then we'll come back to you.
That I didn't know till during an interview last Friday on Metro has made some allegations. Unfortunately, while I was on the show, I was unable to respond to him directly due to technical difficulties. In sum, Dr. Zeto accuses me of never having anything positive to say about the MPP while we were on opposition under Nada, and of not saying anything positive about the government while we were in power. And he ends with the question, what exactly does Dr. Atta Kennedy want from the party he claims to love? It will seem that my brother Dr. Zeto posed his question with a lot of energy. Maybe we could have used his energy at Ablekumanov. But to return to the serious points he raises, when Dr. Zeto says, I never said anything positive about the MPP while we were in opposition under Nada, that is inaccurate. Indeed, I vigorously defended J.B. Dankwa against accusations that he was a traitor while his own family stayed silent on the record. Second, when they said Nada was too old and too sick to be president, I defended ageism and Nada also on the record. When we got into government, the idea that I have never said anything positive is inaccurate. I have given Nada credit for the initiation of free SHS. I've given him credit for solving the Dabon crisis. And I repeatedly sent policy initiatives and advice to the President's Secretary, Nana Santibidietu, who can bear witness to my quiet advocacy for policies and for improvements in our governance. And indeed, Dr. Zeto seems to imply that my criticisms were more potent than that of the NDC. He gets it wrong. We did not go into opposition because of anybody's criticism. It was because of our performance, which was bad. Now, as to what Dr. Atta Kennedy wants and wanted all these years, when we were in government, Dr. Zeto, I wanted us to have a government based on Tafrache common sense. A government that will not blow $100 million of our money on a hole in the ground called a cathedral, while we had Krofrom Market that was almost finished by Kufuor, uncompleted, while we had a newborn mother bleeding to death because he couldn't pay for an ambulance, and while we had dialysis patients dying because we couldn't buy supplies. I wanted a government that would live up to the appellation, quote unquote, that we have the men and govern well, so that all Ghanaians will be proud of that government and re-elect it. Unfortunately, we didn't do that. I wanted a government that was not arrogant and wouldn't have been handed the defeat we were handed by, with 25% of John Mahama's votes coming from disappointed MPP members and millions more staying at home. That was what I and most
SS of Dr. Atta Kennedy, a member of the MPP. He doesn't really live here now, but continuously he has engaged with our political activities here in Ghana, especially been very hard on his own party. Kojo, you listened in?
Yes, I did.
Yes. I'm not sure how Dr. Atta Kennedy's continuous criticisms of the activities of the previous administration and, of course, as a political party comes to you. You have been a member, or you are a member of the Constitutional Committee. Some of his thoughts and his observation from afar, is it taken in good faith, or it's still something that can be ignored?
The exercise we've done across the country has been an exercise aimed at gathering as much feedback as possible. Those are the things that have gone into the reforms that we have just gone into at our national conference. As I mentioned, amendments, motion 26, 27, and 30 were focused on ensuring that the party has a place for policy formulation whether out of government or in government, so that the best brains from the party in Ghana and all over the world can contribute to policy formulation, which policy formulation will then guide whoever becomes the flag bearer of the party in executing the mandate that we give that person. So all of these views are welcome. They are factored. They are provided for now in the party's constitution. And going forward, all of those who have views will have an opportunity to participate in the policy spaces of the party, which policy spaces will birth the ideas that will be used to govern.
All right. Member of Parliament for Ofasia Ayirebi constituency and former Minister Kojo Ponkroma, I'm grateful for your time this afternoon. Thank you for speaking to us here on Good Afternoon Ghana. Right. Okay, so that's it for former Minister. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll give you some more details of updates, breakdown of the matters coming up. We'll be back shortly.
Whether you're a wholesaler, retailer, or consumer, MNC Logistics and Trading is your trusted partner in minerals and food commodities trading. Experience the difference with MNC Logistics and Trading for your commodities trading. We operate a well-equipped laboratory that smelts and assays gold to ensure transparent, credible, and reliable minerals transactions. Our general food commodity market deals with imports and exports of food products such as rice, sugar, and grains. We pride ourselves on delivering products that meet the highest standards of quality and taste. With our expertise in international trading and logistics, we bridge customers far and wide. Locate us at number 4 Neosai Interfo Avenue, East Legon, Accra. Call us on 030-299-8246 or visit our website www.mnclogisticsandtrading.com. MNC Logistics and Trading, hub of confidence.
I'm here at Mycom JA Limited to show you the Promethean Active Panel, the ultimate tool for corporate institutions, hospitals, schools, and your home. With its crystal clear 4K display and an unbreakable screen with an ultra responsive touch technology. This isn't just a screen, it's a game changer. For corporate institutions and in schools, this active panel can be used for Zoom meetings and PowerPoint presentation. And your homes are not left behind. You can use it to watch all your favorite programs by just connecting to a Fire Stick, and you can get access to channels like Netflix and Amazon, and voila, you are in there. At Mycom JA Limited, we provide you with the best quality products from the United States of America with 1-year warranty. You can get an
Welcome back to Good Afternoon Ghana. Let's now engage Mr. Tutubuahi, who is a political marketing strategist, on the NPP's ended delegates conference this weekend. Good afternoon, Mr. Tutubuahi. Thank you for your time this afternoon. You're welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana. Hello, sir.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Tutubuahi. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I'm struggling to hear you a bit, but let's see. Let's try. All right. So I'm sure you went through with us. The MPPs just ended delegates conference. Do you think that the party is ready to position itself as a very active, effective opposition party until it goes into the next elections?
Yes, nice to say good afternoon to your cherished. In terms of as to whether the party is ready for 2028, I want to believe that it is the strongest opposition party in the country currently, and I believe that despite whatever happened, the brand MPP is still intact, and all that they need to do is to reshape the brand, strengthen the brand, and then move on. I think that what happened on Saturday probably is part of the measures that is aimed at addressing the weaknesses of the party, prior to 2024. And so there are lots more things to be done anyway regarding 2028. And this is a beginning step that has been taken. So it is early days yet for us to talk about whether the party is ready, to contest for 2028. But then I believe that whatever happened on Saturday is the beginning. Probably if the MPP can leverage on the achievements of Saturday, I think that they will be on course and probably be ready to contest for 2020 in the next month, or let's say the next 2 years ahead of us.
Well, in your field as a political marketing strategist, maybe it's early days yet for us to, anticipate what is likely to happen in the near future. But do you think that the party has planted the right seeds regarding, following criticisms that surrounded this whole decision to go to early Congress and make decisions, and then the criticisms about the fact that the party was building from using a top to bottom approach? I've just spoken with Kojo Ponkroma, who indicated that the party was not considering anything like a top to bottom approach or bottom up approach or whatever. It's people have just looked at the whole thing and they're describing or using their own technical words to do the descriptions. But whatever approach that the party had decided to use, do you think that it will work out well for it?
Yes, I think that the top-bottom approach is a media creation, all right, where some people in the media decided to label it, the new direction that the party wanted to take. Some people decided to label it, the best way they want to describe whatever that the MPP had decided to do. But then I believe that that approach is a response, to suggestions that were made in the party. And again, a fallout from the Makukwe report, and even some issues that actually occurred prior to 2024. Obviously, one of the challenges that the NPP encountered going into 2024 was the complex nature of electing their flag bearer, and then again the time or the timing with which the flag bearer was elected, and then the controversies that was generated, after and during and after the election of the flag bearer. And so that actually, had a very devastating effect on the fortunes of the NPP, going forward into 2024. So the party now decided, based on the discussions I've had and the explanations that have been offered by, the likes of Kwadwo Oponkroma and the rest, that obviously the party decided that let's now deal with the election of the flag bearer first, so that if there are any fallouts, if there are any complications, we can deal with those complications early, ensure party unity, ensure that all other presidential aspirants who did not win will rally behind the presidential candidate, and then probably get that kind of strength, to move ahead in the campaign. And I think that no one would dispute this thing, because obviously the ordinary Ghanaian on the street knows that certain isolations didn't help the party, and so if the party is not a kind of an innovation, an innovative approach, to probably as a solution to the problems that they went through, I think that it is in order, and let's see if it works. Then obviously some of us will try to read and develop a theory out of it, and then see how we can use it to advise future politicians and political decisions going forward.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, for speaking to us here on Good Afternoon Ghana. Mr. Bernard Tutu is a political marketing strategist and a lecturer as well, having spoken to us on the matter of the NPP delegates conference that just ended last Saturday at the Legon Sports Stadium. Okay, so just in case you do not know, today is the 21st of July 2025. It's actually the birthday of the late President Professor John Evans Atta Mills, who died some years ago. But there's a lecture that is going to happen tomorrow, God willing. Here is the details of the program.
It's yet another edition, and the governing board of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage cordially invites you to the 13th John Evans Atta Mills Anniversary Commemorative Lecture. This lecture is under the theme, Atta Mills, a case study for the Fourth Republic. The lecture will have the former chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, as the keynote speaker. The event will be chaired by Honorable Julius Deborah, Chief of Staff, Ghana. The lecture will be held on the 22nd July 2025 at the Ohene Kofi Konedu Auditorium of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, at 2 p.m. prompt. Other events outlined for the commemoration include a wreath-laying ceremony to be held on the 24th of July at the Asumdwe Park at 10 a.m. prompt. Dubbed the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Hockey Tournament, a hockey competition will be held on the 26th July at the Theodosia Okon Hockey Stadium, Accra, from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Join us as we commemorate these days in honor of our late President, His Excellency John Evans Atta Mills. It's yet another edition, and the governing board of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage cordially invites you to the 13th John Evans Atta Mills Anniversary Commemorative Lecture. This lecture is under the theme, Atta Mills, a case study for the Fourth Republic. The lecture will have the former chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, as the keynote speaker. The event will be chaired by Honorable Julius Deborah, Chief of Staff, Ghana. The lecture will be held on the 22nd July 2025 at the Ohene Kofi Konedu Auditorium of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, at 2 p.m. prompt. Other events outlined for the commemoration include a wreath-laying ceremony to be held on the 24th of July at the Asomdwe Park at 10 a.m. prompt. Dubbed the John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Hockey Tournament.
Welcome back. So a series of programs also lined up to celebrate the former president, the late former president John Evans Atta Mills, who died 13 years ago. Of course, if you remember, John Dramani Mahama was vice president at the time. He's the one who was sworn in constitutionally to take over, finish his term before he went into elections and won before the coming in of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as the next president in the year 2016. So let's just engage their committee members. Some meetings are being held now as we speak. Subsequently, I'm sure we're going to have all the details of what's going to happen. So you see, as Metro TV has captured today, marks the birthday of His Excellency Professor John Evans Atta Mills, the late. Let's engage Alhaji Halidu Haruna. Alhaji Halidu Haruna used to be an aide to the Deputy Chief of Staff at the time, Lawyer Alexander Segbefia, during the Mills's regime. And he's joined us to engage a bit on this matter, and then later we'll see how Metro will also bring you the details of all that will happen with the celebration. Alhaji, thank you for your time, and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Annie, and thanks for inviting me.
Right, so let's start with a bit of some knowledge about Professor, or the good old Professor, as you used to, refer to him. Professor John Evans Atta Mills, of course, came into the scene as a very different material when he came. The normal personalities that we've had within the political terrain of Ghana by history, Professor John Evans Atta Mills obviously stood out with some different approach to politics and all that. You worked with him closely, so you may let us understand who he was as a president, maybe before even becoming a president.
Well, Annie, thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers across the globe. Thanks for the opportunity. I think that I had the opportunity of working closely with Professor John Evans Atta Mills at Cocoa Hill before even he became the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress. I knew him as a man who stood up for the truth, a true leader who does not encourage people to gossip against one another. Anybody who comes to him with an information against another person, he makes sure that he will get the two together and then ask the one who has made the allegation to repeat before the one who has been accused. Doing that has actually reduced people from going to him with falsehood. I recall I was accused of putting up a filling station around Dansuma Junction. There is a filling station there belonging to an NDC MP, as East Aya, also Member of Parliament. A gentleman actually heard of it because the owner was referred to as Alaji. He concluded that I was the one, so he actually reported me to him. He called me personally and asked. And in fact, those of us who worked with him before he became the president, he knew everybody and what you can do. So when he asks you about something and you deny, he won't actually push. He will just ask you to go. After some time, he will allow people to do a basic checks to bring facts to him. Professor Evans Atta Mills is a kind person. He was one who certainly will not judge you on the basis of what he heard. He stood up as someone who cared for humanity. In fact, there was a time Professor Mills in a conversation said that, why is it that many of us are eager to make so much properties And he asked the question, even a house that you will build with a single room, the space you will occupy as an in-law is just small. Why do you want to have so many houses? And it stands to reason that after his demise, you can only associate 2 properties to his name. That is one at the Spintex and the other one around the Amasama area. He is somebody who doesn't care about what do I say, resources. What he thinks has to be done is to improve the welfare of individual and humanity. This country has produced a president, indeed, somebody who is very kind, God-fearing. He only speaks to you and he only advises you as to what you can do to improve your life. So we lost a man who could have at least best be compared to Nkrumah in terms of selflessness. That is the kind of person I have come to know him.
So I know that he brought in a new type of politics, at least within the NDC. It was interesting how Rawlings at the time identified him, knowing that the 2 personalities were very different in their approach to politics. What he came on board with, how the NDC combined the 2, knowing the experience they had with former President Rawlings, the late as well, and coming to a new era that came in with President Mills.
I believe Jerry Rawlings is a gifted man himself. He has what it takes to identify good people. If you are an evil person, he knows. In fact, his intuition will tell you, his instinct will tell him that this person is not a good person. So normally, when you hear Jerry Rawlings speaking against an individual, take it serious. But the fact that Jerry Rawlings has been able to identify John Atta Mills and be able to identify John Dramani Mahama today, both had the opportunity of occupying the high office of the land. And they are making this country proud by their conduct, by the way they run this country, the extent of their humanity in them. And for me, Jerry Rawlings is a kind of person who certainly, there are certain character traits he has that can be traceable to John Atta Mills. Jerry Rawlings happened to be a compassionate individual, personality, selfless as a leader. And the same can be said to Professor Mills as well as John Dramani Mahama. But there are differences here. Whilst Professor Mills is a calm person who will address an issue without being so aggressive, Jerry Rawlings is the opposite. Now, take the demeanor of the current president as well. He also has a very calm demeanor. He will address an issue without being aggressive, but Jerry Rawlings is the opposite. But what made Jerry Rawlings to stood up as a leader is the fact that the aggressiveness has helped him to tame some stubborn people within this country. Because you see, Ghana largely, you need some element of calmness as well as the aggressiveness combined to enable you to run this country very well. Jerry Rawlings identifying Professor Mills, certainly there were many people who have worked with him. He knew every character around him. But he decided that he wanted somebody else because, you see, as a leader, you may have your strength as well as a weakness. For you to be able to identify your weakness as a leader will enable you to have somebody who will partner you with a strength which will complement your weakness so that it makes you a full leader to be able to run the administration. So Rawlings actually identified his weakness as an aggressive person. And so there is a need for him to have somebody who is calmer so that he could be able to run at a point when there is a need for somebody to step in situations where they need some calm atmosphere. And so that combination actually worked. Professor Moss was not given an opportunity for the first time when he vied for the position in 2000 election, because there was that belief that because it was Rawlings who identified him, there is that likelihood of him being influenced by Rawlings. There was many at that time.
It's interesting you're going there. I was going to come there. I am interested in that area of his ability to have stood his own grounds without necessarily being pushed around, for want of better expression, by the late Rawlings.
I will tell you a story. Some years back, we went to Bolaga for a youth congress. That was the congress that elected the current education minister as the youth organizer for the second tenure. Neil Antivadopoe also contested. And at that congress, certain things happened because Jerry was then supporting Neil Antivadopoe. After that congress, when we came back to Accra, I entered into Professor Mills' office, and then Prof was just asking me a leading questions about development in Bolga during the Congress. And he asked, without me knowing the reason for or the basis for those questions, but I was genuinely responding to what I saw and what I witnessed. Not knowing somebody else had told him something that were completely different. So after I narrated, then he asked me to wait. Then he called the individual up in the office and he asked the person, did you see Halidu at the Congress ground? Then the gentleman said yes. Then he said, but the things you said happened there never happened. So why did you come to tell me this? The gentleman was angry, accusing me of working to seek for his position. Then Professor Mills responded. He said, no. He came and greeted me. I was the one asking him questions on the basis of what you narrated to me. So why are you accusing him? And I stood quietly and was just watching, surprisingly, because I was innocent. I did not know what he was told. But apparently the person lied to him. And the lies were told again. The things that were said to him were something against the Rawlings. So when he asked me and I said, no, those things never happened, then he said, oh. After a week I entered, there was an issue the Rawlings raised publicly. Then when I entered his office, he said, what at all did I do against the Rawlings? And he does not understand why consistently Rawlings appears to be on his neck. But surprisingly, in spite of the attack by Rawlings, this man looked into my face and said that never, under no condition should you be on radio or TV and respond to whatever the Rawlings will say about me. It takes only a man who appreciates and believes that indeed the Rawlings contributed to whatever he became at that point in time as President of the Republic of Ghana.
Having worked closely with him, did he at any point sort of felt regretted about any decision he had taken, knowing very well that he was identified by the former President Rawlings? Yet the former President Rawlings fell out with him. Some of the issues I remember had to do with his decision not to sack government appointees that he inherited from the Kufuor administration, and decided that, you know, that's not how politics was going to be. I'm not going to listen to all these. I mean, did a very different thing. Obviously, today we're not practicing the same thing. Did he at any point regret not listening and taking such decisions? Because you realize that Rawlings's fallout with the NDC started from the Mills's regime.
Regret. Professor Mills, anytime he takes a decision that is based on conviction, he does not express regret for taking those decisions. It takes time before taking those decisions. So it is extremely difficult for you to, be able to fault him. And at the time, because you see, this country clearly requires a certain sober reflection. Many of the big guys have approached him to tell him that, look, it's important for this country to focus on the development and a path of economic growth, where the Ghanaian people who are struggling will have some kind of relief. Yes, it's good to target political opponents who have wronged this country, but engaging all your time or spending all your time in engaging in that kind of things at the expense of working to develop this country, it is important to weigh and get a balance of the two. And so, Prof, as I knew him, he has never expressed regret for decisions he has made regarding allowing government of, you see, those people were Ghanaians. And for me, as a Ghanaian, irrespective of the political positions or affiliation, it is only a wicked citizen of a country that a president will consider or allow you to occupy a position for some time, even though he wasn't the one who appointed you. And you use that as a basis to destroy things. It simply means that you are unpatriotic. So, Professor Mills believed that really every citizen of this country who had the opportunity of being appointed to occupy a position will have this country at heart. And it was on that basis he asked that, okay, before I will constitute my government, stay on so that when I get my government set, certainly you can then exit. I think that decision did not go down well with many. But I'm sure today, reflecting back, people certainly will appreciate why he decided to take that decision. And as for regret, I have never heard him expressing regret for taking those decisions. But indeed, he had some pain and some kind of, if I should say, how do I put it well? He wasn't so happy that Jerry Rawlings fell out with him and appears to be pressing his neck whilst in government. As for that one, a couple of times I have bear witness, he has spoken about it, he has asked me why, or he wanted to understand the reason behind those things. There was an issue that came up before me.
I mean, that was a very tete-a-tete conversation. What answer did you provide to him?
Well, I don't know. When he asked, I said, I don't know. But I think that my response really was that I don't know. But I suspected he wants the best. And so sometimes when you are occupying a position, you don't have somebody within to criticize you, it makes it extremely difficult for you to know whether you are on the right path. But if you get criticism within, it strengthens you.
I see.
And so for me, you
as a government found the criticisms of your own founder as strength.
It's a strength. It has never happened. Can you tell me which government in power, MPP or NDC, apart from Professor Mills? In fact, even John Mahama taking over from Mills, he had also a similar criticism, but not as intensive as Professor Mills suffered.
Did, yes. Because I noticed that anytime you had a chance to go for party congress or elections at the time when Rawlings was around or was alive, anytime he appeared to rousing cheers and welcome. Yes. Meaning the party grassroots was still with him and agreed with or to his criticisms, and it was you sort of found a way to accommodate it.
Certainly, because an unexamined life is not worth living. If you are in a parent house and they see you probably charting a path which is not good, and they decide to turn a blind eye on it, they are not helping you. If really they expect you to become a very responsible individual, they will draw your attention to it. So in government, even though some of us were so much feeling that no, Rawlings has not been fair to Professor Mills, but Prof views appears to be different. And at a point, I just wanted to tell you, there was an issue that came up, and it was a contentious issue. And Rawlings was involved. That one, I was personally involved into that issue. Now, a decision has to be made in favor of Rawlings, because we do not want a situation where he will think that anytime he instructs or he give an order, nobody heed to those orders. So it was actually that decision was taken in his favor to resolve, because he gave a recommendation and we have to heed to that recommendation. So at the point when it became so critical, and there was this, the wife wanted to contest, that is Fonka game contest. At the point I had to come in to say, if you throw any accusation against Professor Mills' administration that he does not listen to Rawlings, it's a lie. Because I was personally involved in a decision that favored Rawlings, and Rawlings actually gave that recommendation, and we have to heed to that. So there was no point, at no point, that Rawlings has actually ordered something to be done which was ignored, particularly those that I know, which I was involved. And so I will say that Professor Mills was just a gift to this country. Unfortunately, fortunately, we lost him at the early stage of his presidency. But I think that God loved this country and replaces him with John Dramani Mahama. Today, thank God, the good people of this country are experiencing good governance under him. And I think that thanks to God and thanks to the Rawlings for identifying these wonderful leaders of our country.
So the 13th John Evans Atta Mills anniversary commemorative lecture that is happening tomorrow, God willing, with various key speakers. When leaders come across, I think from Kufuor was John. There was John, Jerry John Rawlings. Kufuor was John Ejikun Kufuor. There was John Evans Atta Mills, and then came John Dramani Mahama. I think it was Nanado that broke the John chain. So if you go back to the third John, which was John Evans Atta Mills, the values he came on board with, are you sure we still have those values, especially the positive ones? The John Mahama adopt those values? Do you see those values today? He went out of government and he's back within 6 months. Are you seeing the values? Because it's not just about commemoration.
I see virtually every value cherished by Professor Mills in John Dramani Mahama. Except to say that John Mahama, when something is said to him, he may not bother to call to find out from you. He has a way of also verifying his. That is the only aspect I think I did not see with John Mahama. Professor Mills will call, and as you lie or say things about somebody, whether truth or lies, he will ask you to sit, and then he will invite the other person to come. And then he will ask the person that, okay, what you just said to me, can you repeat it? In the presence of the person you are accusing. Face to face. So that at least issues are resolved. If what you said to him were lies, it will be difficult for you to repeat before the person you are accusing. That is an aspect I think I have not seen in John Mahama. But any values cherished by Professor Mills, except that one.
Sorry, so John Mahama is not calling people to substantiate truths or lies.
I have not witnessed that, and so it is difficult to confirm that. But I am saying that Professor Mills will not hear something and he will find out. But maybe John Mahama may have his ways of confirming whatever he's told. Now, you see, Professor Mills at the time, as president, he receives every call. When you call him, if he does not even be able to pick that call, in the evening after he retired to his room, he will return the call. So he picks information directly from the grassroots.
Oh.
And so if you are an appointee and you come to him with an issue relating to the development of our country or your sector, and you are not speaking the truth, he will tell you no. Because he picks information. He responds to people from the grassroots.
But is that not the same you can say about John Mahama when it comes to grassroots contacts?
You see, every leader has his own style. That's why I'm saying that John Dramani Mahama may have a way of identifying some of these problems. Because if you listen carefully to John Mahama when he speaks, he appears to have knowledge of every area and every sector.
Yeah.
So it becomes so difficult to also go before him and go and lie. So probably he has a different way of picking up those informations and probably confronting appointees with.
Okay, how about the fight against corruption? Of course, I mean, consistently, John Evans Atta Mills kept every speech he would give, he would mention greed and corruption, which he abhorred. Mahama, came in, I'm sure the Abu Gapile matter, you remember, allowed for investigation, eventually jailed him. Is he continuing with that value today? Do you see that appointees
I can tell you, Annie, without allowing you to land with your question, John Mahama is tougher in terms of fight against corruption. Don't joke with the man. He is quiet, but I'm telling you that he's dangerous when it comes to that aspect. Don't joke with him.
All right. A quick one before I let you go. The reason why the team contacted you was that you were very close to Professor John Evans Atta Mills, who worked as an aide of the presidency. Have you called Koko Anyidoho recently?
It's been a long time we spoke.
Why did you giggle?
You see, we all have problems. But a way you will act on the basis of the problem, that will show how matured you are. Certainly, John Mahama taking over from Professor Mills from 2012 may have certain reservations. But your conduct will prove whether indeed those reservations he may have against you were true or not. Your actions, your pronouncement may confirm or probably disprove that position. And so, as individual who happened to work closely with Professor Mills, and John Mahama took over, with those reservations, certainly, he would want to have his own people around them work with. Now, if you believe you have not done anything wrong against John Mahama, and he has taken those actions against you probably, and you think it's not proper, the way to go is not to go public and attack him. Let your actions speak for you, whether you are guilty of his actions or you are not guilty. But to the extent that you go public with it, it confirms that indeed you were doing something wrong against him while he was vice president. And I'm saying that John Mahama is a human being. Nobody will be treated bad that probably will just certainly get up and say, oh, I have let go. But your actions can make the person decide that, no, maybe I'm getting it wrong. Then let me take another steps to get it. Why? It's not only Koku and Ido who work with Professor Mills. Dr. Valerie Soya was very close with Professor Mills. Nilante van der Poel was very close. In fact, Nilante was much more closer than any of us. My former boss, Alex Egbia, was with Professor Mills. The question is, are they not working under John Dramani Mahama? They are working under John Dramani Mahama. In fact, today, one of the most powerful persons under the regime of John Mahama is Valerie Soya.
True.
But she worked closely with Professor Mills. And so, for me, I was so saddened by the fact that my senior brother, Koku Aido, did not take his time and allow posterity to judge.
Right.
But he decided to take the decision on his own.
Right.
And he went too far.
Right.
And so sometimes it's important for us to understand that individuals, we may differ. And so certainly, me for some time now, it's been so long that I spoke to him.
Right. Right. Alhaji Haruna, Halidu Haruna, thank you so much for speaking to us here on Good Afternoon, Ghana. We're grateful. Okay, so that's what we have for you this afternoon. But before we go, let's remind you of what is happening with the late Professor John Evans Atta Mills, then President of Ghana.
So just to speed us, so what happened that neck yesterday?
My disgust and my repulsion at the way some of you are helping to erode the benefits that we are making or we have to give to our people. You are in charge of revenue. Every day we hear reports about malpractices. People collecting bribes with careless abandon. People who think that they are entitled to take bribes. How can we get rid of corruption? I'm not saying that nobody should appreciate the work that you are doing. But when you make it a condition, somebody should give you some money before you perform your duties. I've known Caston for quite some time. I was Commissioner of Internal Revenue. And the announced video confirmed the fears I've had for quite some time. Look at yourself. I want to talk very frankly to you. The money you collect does not belong to you. It belongs to the nation. And nobody has a right to appropriate what belongs to the nation. There are quite a number of you here who are also partners, who are also encouraging corruption. There are some of you here who are agents and who are helping with the corruption. My brothers and sisters, we need the money to develop the country. We need the money to build schools for those who are going to school under trees. If I ever doubted that some of the people in SEPS were really working against the economy, what I saw with my own eyes and heard with my ears convinced me beyond any reasonable doubt. If this is a person who has sworn to work in the interest of our nation, and he can boast so brazenly and even aid smugglers to carry our cocoa across the border, I'm saying, my brothers and sisters, this is the time for introspection.
Whether you're a wholesaler, retailer, or consumer, MNC Logistics and Trading is your trusted partner in minerals and food commodities trading. Experience the difference with MNC Logistics and Trading for your commodities trading. We operate a well-equipped laboratory that smelts and assays gold to ensure transparent, credible, and reliable minerals transactions. Our general food commodity market deals with imports and exports of food products such as rice, sugar, and grains. We pride ourselves on delivering products that meet the highest standards of quality and taste. With our expertise in international trading and logistics, we bridge customers far and wide. Locate us at number 4 Neosai Interfo Avenue, East Legon, Accra. Call us on 030-299-8246 or visit our website www.mnclogisticsandtrading.com. MNC Logistics and Trading, hub of confidence.
I'm a brand manager. Of course, I accept only quality and affordable printed souvenirs for my promotional campaigns.
I'm the head of academic affairs of a very important institution in Ghana. Of course, we only deal with quality, reliable printing companies for our institution's printing materials. I'm talking about appointed time printing.
Appointed Time Printings. We take pride in our extensive print scope that transform your ideas into captivating visual masterpieces. We delve into the core objectives and vision of each print project. Precision printing is at the heart of our printing process as we meet your tight deadlines. Our rigorous inspection, color verification, and overall printing excellence are assured. 20 years of printing excellence. It's always a pleasure working with you to create a vibrant, dazzling printing experience that gives you a masterpiece. Appointed Time Printing, your world of quality and affordable printing.
Hello everyone, you remember this face, right? My name is Nanaya Tanua Boache, a familiar face on Entertainment Review. On ER Extra, I'm bringing you the unexpected, the extra, and the undercurrents behind the entertainment news. You can call it a weekly recap on Entertainment Review on Metro Television, but ER Extra brings you the extra you have been waiting for. What part of the interview or news from Entertainment Review do you need clarity on? What did you make of the whole interview? I'll bring you the recap, the highlights, and the unanswered questions on Entertainment Extra. Let's interact on ER Extra every Saturday on Metro TV social handle. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us on ER Extra. Let's interact.
Back in the day, tune on radio from morning, and you don't want to miss out because anybody who comes on is massive.
Back in the day on Metro TV, Mr. BKD anywhere.
Back in the day, mentioning the place that you used to live, no, that meant that you were Dadaba.
Oh, how?
Because we are the ones who went to Saito.
I wasn't really a nightclub person.
No, I mean,
the only times I went to the nightclub, your Dixon took me.
Yeah.
You have a Walkman by your side. Now that was your selector. The Walkman was your selector. So when you play the first song and you want to change the song, you have to start cueing your next song through your headphone.
Hi, my name is Ivan Kwashiga. I'm the CEO of Farmhouse Productions. I'm a film director, producer. You are watching Back in the Days with Sammy B on Metro TV.
Massa, we're a guy and yes, I'm be a feature. This is Back in the Day. Keep watching.
This Wednesday, on Titans and Trailblazers, we welcome my friend Cynthia and other friends from Tycon.
When there's more data, the tech people are able to sit with the comms people who then refine how the data is translated. So you have data, you have the comms people, you have the platform.
Broadly speaking, how is tech changing marketing? Broadly speaking.